on, let's hear it for everybody up here, guys. Introducing everybody up here, and then we're going to get into some of the fun stuff. First of all, he's our suave, our debonair, man of mystery, Mr. Axel Alonso, editor-in-chief. Next, he couldn't make it last year because of tropical storms that endangered everything he loved, but this year he's here. It's Mr. Dan Slott, writer of Amazing Spider-Man. Next, I found the only picture I could find Googling Ryan. It is Ryan Stegman, sexy bad boy artist of comics.
The always baffled Ryan Stegman.
Yes. If you go on Kickstarter, he has a really cool project called I Draw Comics. Donate. You're going to be very happy you did. Next, you've seen him starring in ABC's Mad Men and other great shows as Mr. Steve Wacker, the inspiration for Don Draper. That's what Bedhead looks like for Steve. He's waiting
this morning.
You're such a good-looking man, Steve.
Thank you.
And finally, myself, Arune Singh, Director of Communications. All right, folks. How many of you read Amazing Spider-Man 692 this week? That is not enough of you, but
it's the con exclusive.
Yes, there's a convention exclusive available downstairs at Purchase for Fan Expo. But this was a really big issue, Dan. It was the 50th anniversary issue of Spider-Man. You introduced Alpha, Spidey's seemingly new teen sidekick. Tell us about this.
He's a jerk. How many you guys have read it? Do you hate him yet? Yeah. Isn't he annoying? Don't you just wish he was dead? No. Then we've done our job right. This is he has gotten his powers the same way Peter did, where there's a science experiment, but this time, instead of attending the science experiment, Peter is he's the scientist leading it. At Horizon Labs, he has a high school field trip from his old school, Midtown High, and the most obnoxious kid in the world gets zapped by Peter's invention. So this kid, Andy, has all these incredible powers, and even though he has great power, on some level it is still Peter Parker's responsibility.
So you people that hate him, you feel the same way about Alpha as the other heroes and villains feel about Spider-Man.
So the Alpha story continues in Amazing Spider-Man 693. Dan and Steve, what can you tell us about the future of Alpha?
What can you tell me about the future of Alpha?
I wouldn't say much if I were you.
Oh.
If you want to sell comic books. All of this, we've really kicked into high gear the sort of lead-in to December's issue 700. And the Alpha stuff, a lot of the themes and the characters we're exploring there are going to be important as we lead into the big story at the end of the year.
There are, for every issue that's coming out up until 700, leads up to 700, there's some clue or piece of information, some little puzzle piece, some little thing to pick up. Maybe a strange warning from Madam Web, maybe a little glimpse of a villain from the past coming back. There's all kinds of things that will all be building up to 700.
Now, speaking of, you go all Top Gun and enter the danger zone in the next storyline with Christos Gage and Camo joining you on this special story arc. Can you tell us what's happening and what's going on?
Did you guys read the Lizard arc? Yeah. You remember who showed up at the very end of the Lizard arc? Yeah. Okay, how many people thought when they were reading the opening arc of Big Time that we killed Roderick Kingsley? Yeah, okay, you. Okay, it's fair. It's fair in hindsight. Yeah, no. Obviously, you people don't post on the internet. All these people on the internet going, no, you killed Roderick Kingsley, no. And what we did was we cut off the head of someone who was wearing a mask. We never showed you. Now the real Roderick Kingsley is back, the original Hobgoblin. And he is not happy there is a new Hobgoblin, and there will be a little Goblin War.
Yeah, we got three really cool covers by Steve McNiven also. We're happy to have him back in the Spidey fold for a little bit.
Trying to think of any other... also, technology from Spider Island rears its head again, something that's been the Spider Jammers. And that will play a very big part in Danger Zone.
Yeah, cue the Kenny Loggins music. But next, we move on to a very important issue with it and a very important cover. And Steve, you had us finalize this with a very important piece of dialogue.
Yeah, it's Dan Slott's least favorite cover ever.
And it's been hard to read this amazing Canadian HD. But that's Doc Ock saying Peter Parker.
Yeah, Dan started a story arc for Dr. Octopus almost 100 issues ago, in 600, and a lot of what we've done in the past few years, including the recent. Why am I blanking?
What, Big Time?
No, the big Doc Ock story.
Ends of the Earth?
Yes, Into the Earth has been leading to the next.
Steve Wacker, as of next month, will have edited 150 issues of Amazing
Let's hear
Spider-Man.
for Steve, folks.
More issues than any other editor in the history of Spider-Man.
Suck it, Alonso.
I shipped, I think, on average about 9 a year when I was editor.
So this is an important issue. This is a big one.
We have mentioned in the solicits, so I'm not spoiling anything. I'll let you guys know that in 600, Doc Ock had months left to live, and thanks to the magic of Marvel time, by Ends of the Earth, he has weeks left to live. And now, at the start of 698, he has hours left to live. He has hours left to live. He has no master plan. All he has is vengeance in his heart, and he now knows Peter Parker's secret.
God, I know it's one thing Steve and Dan and I have joked about this, but it's true. When Amazing Spider-Man 700 comes out, I think you may love Dan Slott now. He's gonna have to go into hiding. I think, Steve, that's pretty fair to say, right?
Yeah, we've got a safe room set up for Dan. It's filled with
Spider-Hole.
It's filled with Doctor Who DVDs and jelly beans, so he can subsist for the next few
Jelly
years.
babies. I'm trying to teach him about Doctor Who.
So we'd like to exclusively, for the first time ever, guys, it hasn't been shown online, show you some of the covers to Amazing Spider-Man 700. Who wants to see those?
Never before seen.
Okay, first, by Humberto Ramos. His cover, which is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that is a wraparound cover. He worked to make the web say 700, and he's got about, I think, 137 villains there in the skyline of New York.
You're telling me I put the art upside down, aren't you?
I'm sort of suggesting that you put the art 90 degrees to
At least I got credits right today. I'm ahead of the curve. So, next, we got a very special cover by Marcos Martin.
Marcos Martin, one of our best artists, I think. He did a very special cover here where he's listed every creator that's worked on the Amazing Spider-Man over 700 issues. So Marcos and myself, we poured over a giant list, making sure that no one's name was left off.
And
I'm sure there's going to be someone out there.
John Romita Sr.
But I think he did a terrific job, starting with Stan and Steve and John, and working his way through. And someone double check. Did we put Joe Quesada's name on there?
Yeah, I've seen. I think
check that one.
I think it's the fourth biggest.
next,
It's a beautiful piece.
Steve, you got to tell us about this cover because it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a collage by a French artist named M.R. Garcin. And what happened? This is sort of a weird thing. I had been on a train on Monday morning checking out the comic news sites, and someone had posted like a piece of cool Spidey art, this collage. I saw it and I loved it. By the time I got to my office, 75 people had emailed to me, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this?" So I did some searching around and found a contact information, see if he was interested in having the piece shown, and we got the piece, and it's going to be our cover for 700. And he's doing a lot of these Marvel-themed Spidey collages for us on a few other books. He's got a Daredevil one coming down the line, too.
Now with Amazing Spider-Man 700, obviously in December makes it a big deal, but December is a very special month because, as you guys know, after Christmas, a lot of comics don't ship to the comic stores because, people are out. We want to give people time for vacation. Diamond doesn't ship, whatever the reason is. Hey,
there's that dead week between Christmas and New Year.
However, usually the companies, we all release 1 or 2 comics. We don't want the comic stores to have nothing. We want you to have a reason to come in. This year, the only 2 comics that will be released from Marvel the week after Christmas are Amazing Spider-Man 700 and Avenging Spider-Man 15.1. Steve, we've talked about why Amazing Spider-Man is so important, but what makes Avenging such a big deal?
With this issue in December, on sale the same week as 700, Chris Yost takes over as the regular writer. If you know his work on Scarlet Spider and the Avengers, Earth Mightiest Heroes cartoon, he's a very gifted writer. He's worked with Dan in the past on Amazing, And these guys have sort of gotten together and worked out some plans to bring that book a little more tightly into Spidey's world, still maintaining its theme as Spidey teaming up. But the story that week of 700 is going to reflect the events of Spider-Man 700.
When you get these the last week of the year and you get your comics, read 700 first, then read this issue. Do not read this issue until you've read.
No one's going to remember that.
It's August. It's going to be on the internet.
Guys, so
700, then
now,
this.
Axel, you've edited Spider-Man in the past over some of the biggest stories. You're now editor-in-chief. Yeah, it's Spider-Man 50th anniversary, but what's coming up in 700 is so seismic. I mean, as editor-in-chief, when you look at what 2013 is going to mean for the Marvel Universe, where do you think Spider-Man fits into all that?
Well, I really have to keep my lips closed as much as I can because, 700 is a great story, but obviously what we planned for 2013 with Spider-Man is mind-blowing, I hate using adjectives and adverbs because it's just whatever. But long and short of it is that really 2013 is going to be a big year for Spider-Man.
All right, guys. Now, how many of you like Carnage?
I'm going to say one more thing about 700. I'm sorry. I'm going to go off book a little bit. No, it's not about this, but we got a feature in that issue that I think we can tell the Canadian
talk
fans.
about this now. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite panels we do. The Spidey panel in Toronto a couple years ago was terrific, and just as a gift, I'll say one extra thing about the issue. I worked with Stan Lee on a few stories in the past few years. He did a story for 600. He did some backup stories. Always loves coming back to Spidey. We tried to talk about doing something for 700. He had a great idea, but he just didn't have time to execute the idea. So we came up with a different idea. And what we're going to do is we're going to give an official announcement for this in the next few weeks with how we're going to do it. But Stan has agreed to answer 10 letters from Spidey fans. So he's going to do the letter column that issue. And we'll have ways people can submit their letter and get it answered by Stan the man himself.
That's awesome.
So he's going to be involved.
Am I ineligible?
You are ineligible.
That's very cool.
Anybody but Dan Slott.
True believer.
He took my job.
Yesterday it was like, are you fixing my stuff and making it better? And I was like, Stan. No one can make it better than Stan.
Sorry I spilled that too early, everyone.
No, that's good. That's fine. Now, I want to ask, how many of you guys like Carnage? How many of you like Symbiote? How many of you like Maximum Carnage, the video game or the comics? And then you're going to love Minimum Carnage. To the minimum. So guys,
The best thing about this job is that you can sit in your office, make a dumb joke, and 6 months later, you've got writers who have turned it into a story.
Okay, so guys, we want to talk about Minimum Carnage, but first, it's a crossover between Scarlet Spider and Venom. First of all, we'd be remiss if not talking about the man who's redefined Scarlet Spider for a whole new generation, Mr. Ryan Stegman. Ryan, you're working on Fantastic Four right now, and you have some very big things in the future. But I want to talk about Scarlet Spider. What was it like seeing the response to that book, and how popular the character has become since you launched the series earlier this year?
Well, it's been really gratifying because I don't think that even we expected it to be as successful as it's been, and to know that it's going to continue on for the foreseeable future is really awesome. Knowing what Yost has in store is, just everything that we did with that title. I'm just really proud of it.
Were you sad when you had to read the book?
I think you know the answer to that.
Did you cry?
There was a lot of consternation over me reading the book, but I'm staying on the covers for hopefully as long as it goes.
So guys, I also think we should have a huge round of applause for Rick Remender, who's not here, but who, along with Steve and Dan and all, really fashioned a really awesome Venom. Let's hear it for Venom and Rick Remender.
Yeah, the fact that with Cullen Bunn as new writer, the fact that we're talking about Venom issues 30 plus is preposterous to me. I can't believe it. It's gone longer now than any other Venom series has. They've really hooked into the character well. Axel, you helped a lot at the launch of that too, and finding the right angle for that. Rick and Dan's work on it, I think, really helped give us a really strong launch, which is what we needed.
So what is Minimum Carnage, guys? Basically, you guys know Scarlet Spider is Kane. He's trying to be a better kind of hero, or a better guy. You have Flash Thompson, who's Venom, who's Agent Venom, works for the government, and is not above lethal force. And when Carnage escapes jail and heads for the Microverse, Scarlet Spider and Venom are going to meet for the first time and have very different points of view about how to deal with Carnage. I think that's fair to say. And in the Mighty Marvel manner, there's going to be a lot of action. We'll show you guys some of the covers for the book coming up.
The editor of the book, Tom Brennan, has really gone all out on covers and getting Pat Zerker to do some.
Ryan Stegman.
Yep. Ryan Stegman,
You've got a
Clayton
picture.
Crane.
And then here's look at November's covers.
It's a lot of symbiote, it's a lot of shooting, and it's a lot of small.
Yeah. Guys, let's hear from Venom Carnage. Everybody on Venom is all stars. Hey guys, you know, there's another book coming up. If you guys have not checked out Greg Rucka's Punisher run, the place to start is Punisher Warzone in October. This is an incredible series. I mean, essentially it boils down to, Steve, Punisher versus the Avengers, right?
That's basically it, yeah. That was Greg's pitch for the book. Something happens as the Punisher series wraps up, which puts Frank in the Avengers side, and they don't have a choice anymore. They can't look the other way. They can't use the excuse of, we're off planet, or whatever. They have to take him down, and Frank knows it, and I don't even know that Frank disagrees. But he's not going to give up, and it's going to be a pretty brutal fight.
Now, there's a creative change on this we should talk about. I know you wanted to mention.
Yeah, unfortunately, the artist of Punisher, Marco Cacchetto, had to drop away for personal reasons. He's got something going on. He's a wonderful guy. We're going to find another project. But stepping into the book is Carmine Di Giandomenico, the hardest name I have to pronounce on a daily basis.
Let's show you guys some
Other
art,
than
though.
Sienkiewicz.
This is incredible. Look at that. Never before seen, guys. This is the first time we're ever showing it. Absolutely beautiful stuff.
Yeah. So that starts in October.
Yeah, here's his rendition of Frank.
And that leaves the character in a place that's going to be very important coming into 2013 for some of the Marvel.
And actually, I know you have a soft spot for the Punisher. Greg's done some incredible stuff here. 2013, what's it mean for the Punisher?
Again, it's really cool stuff. I mean, Greg's contribution to the Punishers, goes without saying. I got to say, of all the Marvel characters, I would personally love to edit and or write. It's the Punisher because he's so unique. Yeah, or B. Again, he's unique because he really isn't a hero. He's not quite a villain, but he's not a hero. He's got a code, but it's the opposite of someone like Spider-Man's, and I think that's what makes him so appealing and so interesting. So what Greg does with this story, with the Avengers story, the Warzone story, is take Frank to a place that is going to really position him for a really great role in Marvel now in 2013.
Now, guys, I've got to ask a question. If you all don't raise your hand, I'll be very disappointed in this country. How many of you read Daredevil by Mark Waid? Everybody raise your darn hand. You better make Mark Waid feel good. I want to hear a huge round of applause for Steve Wacker and the team and all of their Eisner wins. Daredevil. Guys, this is, I think, everybody agrees, one of the best, if not the best comics out there, any genre, anything. It's just incredible. And you're not letting go. Mike Allred just drew an issue. That was great.
We're lucky enough to have Mike for an issue, and which got us up to our next storyline called Blind Man Bluffed, which starts with Daredevil 18 and Paulo Rivera on covers, Chris Somney on art, and it's the biggest storyline we've done so far. And like all great Daredevil stories, it's going to do some pretty bad things to Matt. We're killing him.
So, Daredevil's going through some pretty major stuff. What can you tell us about the future? Can you tease anything else
No,
coming up, please?
absolutely not.
Please?
He's blind,
Oh my God.
and that will continue.
One thing
There's a new villain called the Coyote in this story. Mark's a big proponent of creating new villains, and villains that are going to stick around for a while. So it's the kind of thing where if you haven't been reading the book, you can come in here get in the ground floor of a big change for the character. But there's no way in the world I'm going to say what it is.
If you haven't been reading the book, the trade has come out of the first arc. So pick it up. It's one of the best comics out in any company, everywhere.
But because Steve Wacker loves you so much, he's not only got one awesome Daredevil project going on, he's got a second, Daredevil End of Days by Brian Bendis, David Mack, Klaus Janson, Bill Sienkiewicz.
Everybody read the Brian Bendis, Malie Daredevil run. Really,
Anyone here,
best runs ever.
Big super fan of that run? Who loves a Bendis run? Who really, really loves it?
Oh, should we do this?
Yeah, I think we should do this.
All right. I happen to have a uncorrected lettered copy of issue 1.
Who wants to read that? Which
Someone
big
to come
Daredevil
up
fan
with
wants to read that one? Steve, who's it?
Ryan, you pick it. You pick it.
Oh man, I pick it.
Ryan, you gotta pick this guy because he's made the most amount of noise.
Okay, then fair enough. You got the
He
game.
won yesterday in that game show too, so he's got my vote.
Come on
All
up.
right, come on up. Brian and David have been working on this project for years. It's gone through 2 or 3 different editors, and it's really some stunning looking work. You can sit next to Arune.
Yeah, I need a friend here.
You don't have eye scanners, do you?
Yeah, no spoilers, please.
It's got some beautiful Bill Sienkiewicz painted work in it too. So it's a book people have been looking forward to for years.
I like the reverence with which he treats the envelope for the printout.
As his editor, I can vouch for the fact that Dan does everything slow.
Now, guys, I'm not sure how many of you had a chance to read this, but judging by all the multiple printings, it's a lot of you. Let's hear it for Captain Marvel, new series from Kelly Sue DeConnick and Dexter Soy. Here's basic, all you need to know. Carol Danvers is Earth's Mightiest Hero. She's Earth's Mightiest Hero. She's a hero known as Captain Marvel. It's a kick-butt costume. Just started her own new series, and you should all be reading it. Steve, am I missing anything?
No, she's a pilot. She's not afraid of anything, and she's going to be one of our greatest heroes, I think. We've been pushing for this change for a while. Thanks to Axel's help, we finally got it to happen. And the book's gotten off to a big launch, and I thank all the fans who have been behind it. We get more letters for that book than anything else.
And we've seen there was a great costume. There was a little girl today, a couple days ago, walking around like Captain Marvel.
I have to admit, I teared up when I saw it.
I got to say the same thing. It was the best costume I've seen.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It
Again,
is,
to see a little girl come to a con with a new superhero, and it just the outfit. She had her hair all moosed up. It was fantastic. Yeah.
I know you guys. Everybody says they want to see more female leads. We think at Marvel we have a lot of great female lead characters in a lot of series, the X-Men books, the Avengers books. But Steve has worked really hard on something he believes in, having a strong female lead in our own series. We want to make sure when we do this, we put our best foot forward. We're definitely doing that here.
And I'm excited to hear Kelly Sue is writing the Avengers, because now I can push to get
Kelly
our
Sue will also
characters in
be
the
writing
Avengers.
Avengers Assemble beginning in November, taking over for Brian Bendis, and Captain Marvel will be a member of the Avengers in that series as well. So you guys, this is not a one-time thing. Captain Marvel has a big place in the Marvel Universe. She's here to stay as Captain Marvel. If you haven't had a chance to read this book, they're probably selling it downstairs. Check out the first issue. You will not be disappointed. Or if you're a digital comics user, you can buy it on your Marvel Comics app on your iPad or iPhone or whatever.
We got posters at the Marvel booth.
We do. We have double-sided posters of Captain Marvel and Spider-Man. So if you don't like Dan Slott, you have Captain Marvel. If you don't like Captain Marvel, you have Dan Slott. Win-win. Now, guys, there's another incredible series that's launched from a guy you probably know. Mr. Matt Fraction launched an awesome Hawkeye book. Let's hear it for Hawkeye. Him and Dave Eisner. I think most people agree that first issue is one of the best first issues of a comic in years. I know, Steve, this was an important project to you. What made them the perfect team for the series?
I'm going to steal a line from Axel, but what Matt and David both, how they approached this book was to keep it simple, to keep it straightforward, and to give Clint Barton some swagger. And that's what they've done. We've got stories that are complete in the issue, but help build Hawkeye's world a little bit. We got a great artist on it, and we've also got some planned places where other artists can come in and do their cool Hawkeye story too.
Axel, I know you're a big Hawkeye fan too. I mean, you always say this book just has swagger like Steve stole.
Yeah, just right down to the covers. This is one of my favorite books, personally, and the first issue is one of my favorite comics of the year. I think that these two have incredible chemistry, and it's just different. It's different from other things in our line. I've always loved Hawkeye. Speaking frankly, we've had arguments up and down the halls about whether or not we could sell a Hawkeye book, and I'm just thinking, really? We can't sell a Hawkeye book? And this is proof you can if you have the right talent on it.
Yeah, we fought hard because it was movie time. We figured there's no better place to launch a Hawkeye book, because after that movie and that great shot of him spinning backwards, shooting that arrow.
I just love those covers too. The design approach, they're thoughtful. I put any of them up on my wall.
So now in issue 4, and Steve, you talked about this, Javier Pulido of Human Target fame is going to be doing some interiors on Hawkeye. Is Dave Aja coming back after that?
David's back after that arc, yeah.
Okay.
David's back with 6. Javier steps in for 2, and it's Clint Barton versus a videotape, which will be very graphic. But I can't say much about this story. It's a violent story. It's discovered that Clint has done something really horrible, and someone has a video of it. I can't say much more than that.
Guys, if you guys only do one thing from the Marvel panels this week, and when you leave them, buy Captain Marvel #1, buy Hawkeye #1. Make sure you're reading Wade's Daredevil. I'm sure you're all reading Slott's Spider-Man, and if you guys remember, make sure you pick up Avenging Spider-Man #11 by Zeb Wells and Steve Dillon. If you don't tear up a bit, you don't have a heart. And I mean, honestly, it is. I'm like, you look at the cover, it looks like a sweet book, and you will not believe how emotional it is. It's Peter and Aunt May visiting Uncle Ben's grave, and it's
The
just,
team up you demanded.
it is.
Arun, do Canadians have hearts?
They have hockey pucks for their step hearts.
Hey, mock Canadians on your panel.
So, guys, with that, we're going to jump into questions. We want to hear from you.
After that, I was like, how would you guys like Spidey move to Toronto? I was going to try to like win back some hearts and minds. Alpha Flight team up.
All right, guys. So, questions. Raise your hands. Down here.
How much input did you guys have on the AVX Spider-Man where he basically took on Colossus and Indiana? Because that was just probably my favorite Spider-Man.
You liked it?
Oh, it was the
Yeah.
best Spider-Man.
I mean, that's Jason Aaron's issue. We were in the room during the AVX retreats and discussions, and we sort of knew where they were going and piped in. Those things are pretty freewheeling. So Dan piped in, and I mean, the issue was edited by Tom Brevoort, so we weren't editing it ourselves. But Jason's pretty conscientious about the character. He loves the character. I think he loves what Dan's doing on the book. So it was all him, but we definitely all play in the same sandbox. Glad you liked it.
Okay, back there.
Since Norman is sort of out of commission right now, do you in the future plan to make Harry Osborn the new Green Goblin again?
During Danger Zone,
No, I mean...
you're going to see, classic Hobgoblin and new Hobgoblin. And though there might not be any other goblins in the story, there might be some goblin-ish surprises.
All right, you in front right here.
Are you ever gonna put the symbiote on Scarlet Spider?
Wow, that would be...
Wow! You want a job? How old are you?
We got a replacement for Tom Brennan.
I will make sure that happens for you. What's your name? Haroon?
Yeah.
All right, right into the book. I'm going to make sure that happens. That's brilliant.
The question was,
Symbiote.
will the symbiote ever glom on to Scarlet Spider?
Oh, I misunderstood the question. No. Oh! No, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
You're smart.
All right, Superman.
What is your favorite Spider-Man villain?
Okay, guys, let's start with Axel. Favorite Spider-Man villain?
It would. Kingpin is one of my favorite, but he's not really Spider-Man. He's more Daredevil. Green Goblin.
Stegman?
Doc Ock.
For me, it's Kraven the Hunter until 700, and then it's Dan Slott.
For me, my favorite Spider-Man villain is Peter Parker himself. No one else beats up Peter like Peter.
What's important is what's your... First of all, why are you wearing a Superman costume?
He's obviously wearing it because of the Superman Spider-Man.
Don't take me
crossover
lightly. I
issue.
will berate a kid. Who's your favorite Spider-Man villain?
I have to say Venom.
Ooh, man, that's a good choice.
Have you been watching the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon?
It's not.
Oh, it's not here yet?
No.
Oh, way to go, Steve.
I blame Canadian customs. Well, when that show comes here, you have to watch it. If
You're
you
gonna
love
be very
it.
happy, and you'll stop dressing like Superman.
Oh, stop! Just show up tomorrow at the DC panel in a Spider-Man costume. It'll be well.
What if I came here wearing an American flag?
Man, there's way too many Superman shirts here. Eric.
Two things. First of all, everything you said about Captain Marvel is absolutely true. It's fantastic type.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thanks a lot.
It's one of two things I wanted Marvel to do this year, which is get Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel in costume. The other is bring back Alpha Flight.
They were just in Hulk. Is that cool for you? Jeff Parker and Dale Eaglesham had just had an art Mayan rule of Hulk, where the Red Hulk teamed up with Alpha Flight.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And then you can also see North Star right now for the foreseeable future in Astonishing X-Men. I believe there's another member of Alpha Flight who will join the X-Men very soon.
I'd like to see more Guardian and Sasquatch.
Okay.
I'm with you. We were pulling for that last book so much for it to survive. There is an Alpha Flight book, Alpha Fight. That's it. An Alpha Flight book out there that we need to find a way to do. We talk about it at almost every retreat.
Yes.
Send a petition around.
For what? We want to do it. We don't need a petition.
I think it would be a little biased at this panel.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the panel to do it.
Hey, I have a Spider-Man question.
Okay.
I haven't seen much in the Marvel Now stuff about Spider-Man. It feels like Marvel Now was Avengers and X-Men and Spider-Man.
In the image you saw for Marvel Now, look at Spider-Man. He's at the top of it, but look very closely at his costume. It's different.
All right.
We're going to have announcements in coming weeks that will blow your mind.
Yeah.
And they start with teases, and we'll start filling in the blanks as you go.
But
Spider-Man
again,
is
guys,
one.
we can't even then when we announce it, we won't be able to say too much until maybe Spider-Man 700 hits. You guys, I'm serious, the amount of hatred that will be there towards Dan Slott after this. Because here's the thing, when you read the end of it, you have to remember it's real. Steve is a big believer in making things count, and when that happens, some of you may not believe it actually happened, but it's real.
One of the things we get a lot of complaints about is because we have to do so much promotion and marketing and we solicit our books 3 months ahead of time, for a lot of readers who track that, they feel like their stories have been sort of given away already before they get to experience the issue. I know it's frustrating for the writers and the artists. My advice would be not to look those things up if you don't want to know, but the Spidey thing is an experiment. We're trying to really hold back the information to see how the surprise. We feel like we have a story that's worthy of holding back a little bit on it and seeing how that plays out.
Last thing we want to do is put on a cover. It's like, hey, you're going to love this movie. Bruce Willis is dead. It's a great movie.
And look, here's the thing though. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of you have been asking Dan on Twitter, are you still writing Spider-Man after Amazing Spider-Man 700? We can't say. Is there even an Amazing Spider-Man after 700? We can't say. Is what happens to Peter Parker and Spider-Man after 700? We can't say. But Steve, we should tell them something about what's happening in January, shouldn't we? There's something.
Yes, I actually put on your slideshow there. If you go one more, I put a JPEG up there.
Oh, sweet.
That is the cover to Amazing Spider-Man 699.1. That will come out between 699 and 700. The picture is of Morbius throwing Spider-Man to the ground. Morbius, the living vampire, was recently seen in the
No Turning
Back. Sorry, the No Turning Back arc, and his story is not done. Do one more.
One more. Ooh, Steve, tell us about
Morbius, the living vampire, #1 in January.
It's an ongoing series?
Ongoing series.
Are we announcing it here for the first time?
I am announcing it for the first time, yes.
Oh, God. So Joe, if you guys don't know, Joe is the writer of Glory, a really great image superhero series, not for the folks under 18 or maybe 14 at least.
Not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, but it's...
Not for you.
And also a book called Hell Yeah. And Richard Elston's an incredible artist. Tell us about the team and what they got planned.
Well, the team, we had originally talked to Joe and Rich about doing a Thanos book for us that we announced early in the summer that plans have changed on, and so they were available. And I was digging working with them on the Thanos book. So I asked Joe, I asked Rich, do you have any feelings about Morbius? We want to, we've got sort of a starting point for this character. What kind of deep dark holes would you take this living vampire into? And they dove into it like no one I've ever seen on a book. They're coming up with some good stuff here.
And you know what, guys? Steve is far too bashful to say this, but he has the Midas touch. If you look at all the books that launch out of Steve's office, whether it be Scarlet Spider, whether it's Venom, whether it's Punisher, whether it's Daredevil, Captain Marvel, Hawkeye, there's a pedigree to the books that Steve produces. We have a lot of wonderful talent. I especially love books out of Steve's office. And I think if you guys aren't interested in vampires, or aren't interested in Morbius, just remember how much people are talking about Daredevil now and how much you wish you'd got into the ground floor, how much you wish you'd got in the ground floor for Captain Marvel. Get in on the ground floor for this book. Steve has a great direction.
Thanks. Yeah, the character first appeared in Spidey almost 600 issues ago. 600 years. He's a vampire. Back in 1412. It's a vampire book, and I don't come to vampires naturally, so I'm sort of learning about that lore coming into this. But it's not about the mythology of vampirism. It's really about a man who realizes the things that have happened in his life has changed him forever. It's a story of redemption. It's a story of power. It's some good stuff. We've had fans clamoring for a Morbius book for a long time, and I think Rich and Joe have found the secret recipe.
And also, he's a vampire created through science, correct? He's not part of the whole come stuck your blood Dracula vein. So,
and he is not sparkly.
All right, thank you.
So Team Morbius in January.
All right, Robert Pattinson has a new role. Right over there, sir. Yeah.
Who's the tape with? The Hawkeye tape.
Who's it with?
It's not a. You think it's a sex tape, don't you?
It's a jam session with Springsteen. It's great.
It's with Avril Lavigne before Chad Kroger.
My favorite character, Lady Slott.
I would have to ask, how does this country feel about Avril Lavigne and Chad Kroger? Is it like a royal wedding for you guys, or is it? No?
You can have them. Axel was in his room crying last night.
We barely care about Africa.
He did.
All right, guys. Time for you to ask questions not about Avril Lavigne. Shaking your hand right there.
So there's an issue, or sorry, there's a bunch of puzzle pieces. The word 700. What issue did the puzzle pieces start after?
698.
Okay, we have the first person ever outside Marvel to read Daredevil End of Days. Tell us.
Okay, there's like 3 major story points that are just gonna blow you away. Yeah, I want to. This is incredible. I don't even know where to begin. It's gonna be probably since like Born Again. It's looking epic. I'm recommending.
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Who else is a big Daredevil fan here? Who else is a big Daredevil fan? Steve, choose our next big Daredevil fan.
Let's see. Let me. The guy with the red hat. With his hand up. You. Yeah, you.
Come on up and read this. Yeah.
Do you not know you're wearing a red hat? Great. Next question. Keep that moving. In the back of the hat. I'm into hats right now. You, yes, with the thumb pointing at your hat.
Well, the myth about Deadpool will be appearing in the comics ever since he conquered IU Studios and all, and making his own game. He'll probably take over much of Marvel now.
There is a Deadpool Spider-Man story coming up, isn't there?
Yeah, we have Deadpool meeting Spider-Man next month, starting in Avenging Spider-Man 12. By the guy. Anybody watch the Mad TV show on Cartoon Network? You know Mad? No.
Can't.
Cartoon Network, they have Teletoon.
So it's by the writer and creator of that show, as well as Aaron Kuder, who's here. It's a really funny Spidey Deadpool story, and I think Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe is going on right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a limited series Deadpool. Is it Deadpool? Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, where he's.
I didn't know if that was a spoiler.
Yeah, if you've ever wanted to see your favorite superheroes, beheaded, disemboweled, and what have you, this is the place to find it.
And if you guys are big fans of Deadpool, come to the Marvel Now panel. New series artist Tony Moore will be talking for the first time about Deadpool.
He'll be talking for Axel.
Yeah,
it's going to be amazing.
Okay, Spider-Man there, yeah.
Spider-Man 2099.
If they bring back any alternate costume, what would you pick?
Okay, Axel, which alternate Spider-Man costume?
End with me, I gotta think.
For me, it's the Fantastic Four costume with the paper bag. I love it.
Took mine.
Ryan?
I don't have an answer to this question.
What do you like to draw? You must hate drawing the webbing.
No, I like drawing the webbing. I guess I'll say the costume that you're wearing right now.
Slott?
I'm going to say the Spider-Man big time costume. Good luck finding that for a Marvel Legends action figure under $50.
I'm a little uncomfortable with Namor's classic briefs, so I'd probably clothe him a bit more in that black outfit from the 70s. Does anybody remember that outfit? Yeah, there you go. That's my vote.
Okay. Two-Face, do you have a question?
Yeah, so one of the characters you've been talking about is, challenge, is Hawkeye, of course. And I'll bring up his DC counterpart, Green Arrow. Does that in any way affect basically your challenge as far as do something to make Hawkeye stand out compared to the character?
Well, Hawkeye's in the biggest grossing movie of all time, so I don't know if I'd make a comparison. I don't have any Green Arrow envy. Maybe that's just me.
I think the other thing too is, like you said, he's in the movie, and it's great that DC has an Arrow TV show coming out. It looks awesome, but they're very different characters. I think you'd agree, Steve, you've edited both, haven't you?
I've never edited Green Arrow.
Okay. But you worked at DC, so you
I
could
did,
see.
yeah. As far as in terms of how we handle it ourselves, we don't get into debates between the characters so much. Our job is to make our books better than theirs. So what I'm trying to do is make Hawkeye better than their Green Arrow.
Great job.
Thank you. Right there with the red hair.
So you guys have talked a lot about all these new ideas that you're coming out with to examine the role of good and evil from a different perspective than just good and bad. But don't you get frustrated with the movies and how they have it so clearly cut that this hero is a hero and everything he does is fine and the villain must die?
I don't. I'm sorry, I might not be following the question. I mean, a movie generally has to tell the story in the 2.5 hours they have, so they can be a little more self-contained. What Marvel does, what Stan and Jack invented 50, 60 years ago was that sort of sprawling soap opera. The story never really ends. The moments come to conclusion, but it leads to more storytelling. The movies are more closed spaces. I don't know in terms of the villains' motivations that were that much. At least I don't feel it that we're that far apart from the movies.
When I watched Avengers, I felt that whereas maybe Cap and Thor were goody two shoes, I thought there was a lot of pain and doubt in the Hulk, and even a lot of suggested bad history for the Black Widow and Hawkeye. I didn't think they were clear-cut heroes. Also, the story's not over with the movies. I think right now we're building a universe that's meant to appeal to the broadest base possible. And so maybe there's a place down the road, for a grayer area superhero. Someone who's clearly, but I think that there's evidence of that in Avengers. Maybe that's just me, but I really felt that way, especially about Hawkeye and Black Widow.
Blue shirt, you've had your hand up for a while.
They've been building up for a while now, Spidey's eventual revelation that there's an Agent Venom, 2, he's an Avenger. And I just want to know if that's kind of soon, especially after the turning back, Spidey admitted he doesn't care about the villain. I think that was played into that really well.
We have like when you're reading Spider Island, we carefully dance through the raindrops, and they never meet. Like everything they do interacts. Like what he's doing over here totally affects Spider-Man. Spider-Man doing totally affects him. And they just weren't meeting.
It's safe to say that when Peter Parker finds out about this, it's going to be explosive. Like you can't say exactly when that's going to happen, or I'm spoiling stories. But we're aware of exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, we worked really hard to keep them apart, just to build up that kind of tension and make you all.
Okay, in the back in the blue shirt.
Just out of curiosity, what's your opinions on the new Amazing Spider-Man film?
Love it. I saw it 4 times.
I enjoyed the film. I saw it with my son, so I was seeing it through his eyes a little bit. He loved it, and ultimately, I think that's probably what matters. I really enjoyed it. I certainly loved the performances. I thought the actors across the board were absolutely terrific. As I walked away from the movie more, I started seeing some plot bits that were really bugging me. Specifically, sort of the hinge of the movie, where after Uncle Ben dies, spoilers, I wish there had been more of a change to Peter's character from that. He was essentially the same guy before and after. And to me, that's the whole hinge of Spider-Man. that's what it rests on. But I don't think it's a bad movie by any means. I liked Avengers more, but I'm glad they've got a Spider-Man franchise up and running again. I think we need it.
I think Garfield and Emma Stone, and especially Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben, were like miles above. Like, this is the way I see Uncle Ben now. Is Martin Sheen. That was amazing. I'm kind of glad they didn't have a Jonah because J.K. Simmons is perfect. So I'm glad they didn't. Yeah.
Okay. Who hasn't asked a question? I'll make sure we get people who haven't asked a question. Deadpool.
You have Amazing Spider-Man, you've got Scarlet Spider, you've got A vs. X, you've got the movie. Do you ever feel like you might be overexposed?
Never. Because
Or running out of ideas?
No.
What do you think, Axel? Is he ESC?
Right now, he's having a real heyday under Steve. You know, I'm excited by all the fact that Venom and Scarlet Spider stuck. That you guys are still buying it is a testament to the talent involved. I think under Dan right now, I've never been to Spider-Man panels this exciting, and I did Spider-Man for 7 years myself. So I look at this as being a creative heyday, and I really, at the end of the day, if you're a creator, you don't run out of ideas. You know, they just keep coming to you in the middle of the night or what have you. Long and short of it is, I think it's a great time. I'd be excited if I was a Spider-Man fan.
And I don't live in fear of Dan Slott running out of Spider-Man ideas. That will not be in my lifetime.
All right, red shirt.
Okay, so, keep it short. Will we ever see McFarlane ever do a cover of Spider-Man ever again? I mean, he's still very showcasing his past work. I mean, the new Spawn has Tremor over Spawn, like the Amazing Spider-Man 316 cover that Spider-Man. Will we ever see him even just do another cover for?
The crystal ball is unclear.
Yeah.
It'd be cool, but the crystal ball is unclear.
So guys, we only have a few more minutes, so they have to be really quick questions. Green
We'll
shirt.
answer fast.
Yeah.
What kind of planning
Yeah, basically the idea was we wanted to do something that was just like kind of menacing because that's the type of character that Kane is, and then I also wanted to do the big red eyes, and we just kind of built from there. Something simple, something classic that will.
You did about 15 designs.
Yeah.
We went around a lot.
Yeah, last year
trying
Fan
different color
Expo, you
schemes.
showed them to us too. He had tons of these.
Yeah, I did. I just kept trying different things, and that was the one that seemed the most iconic.
How cool is it to see it in the new video game?
Oh my God! I bought the video game just for that, and that's all I do with it is just swing around in his costume.
Right, black shirt.
What inspirations do you get for the story arcs?
Well, it starts here. In terms of Amazing Spider-Man, it starts with the writers, and you know, a good writer is like flypaper. Like things stick. He sees things in the world. Dan knows the character of Spider-Man inside and out.
I've wanted this job since I was 8 years old. I've got decades of like wanting to do this.
Yeah, he's a machine built to do this. So it's a lot of just your imagination. I'm sure your imagination wanders too. You think about cool things you could do with characters you've invented or characters you love. It's that same kind of thing.
I want to go back to this guy because we almost have the same name. Go for it.
You know how there's a new Amazing Spider-Man? Are you guys going to continue like making movies?
You mean like
Yep.
Well, the movie is by Sony, and we're not Sony, so okay. Sure.
All right, guys. Well, look, it's the last question. Fortunately, we have to close. If you guys see us around, we'll talk chat with you. Thanks for coming out. You're the best, guys.
Thanks everybody.
Piece of information, some little puzzle piece, some little thing to pick up, maybe a strange warning from Madam Web, maybe a little glimpse of a villain from the past coming back. There's all kinds of things that will all be building up to 700.
And speaking of, you go all Top Gun and enter the danger zone in the next storyline with Christos Gage and Camo joining you on this special story arc. Can you tell us what's happening and what's going on?
Did you guys read the Lizard arc? Yeah. You remember who showed up at the very end of the Lizard arc? Yeah. Okay, how many people thought when they were reading the opening arc of Big Time that we killed Roderick Kingsley? Yeah, okay, you. Okay, it's fair. It's fair in hindsight. Yeah, no. Obviously, you people don't post on the internet. All these people on the internet going, no, you killed Roderick Kingsley, no. And what we did was we cut off the head of someone who was wearing a mask. And we never showed you. Now the real Roderick Kingsley is back, the original Hobgoblin. And he is not happy there is a new Hobgoblin, and there will be a little Goblin War.
Yeah, we got three really cool covers by Steve McNiven also. We're happy to have him back in the Spidey fold for a little bit.
Trying to think of any other. Also, technology from Spider Island rears its head again, something that's been the Spider Jammers. And that will play a very big part in Danger Zone.
Yeah, cue the Kenny Loggins music. But next, we move on to a very important issue with it and a very important cover. And Steve, you had us finalize this with a very important piece of dialogue.
Yeah.
And let's hear it for everybody up here, guys. Introducing everybody up here, and then we're going to get into some of the fun stuff. First of all, he's our suave, our debonair, man of mystery, Mr. Axel Alonso, Editor-in-Chief. Next, he couldn't make it last year because of tropical storms that endangered everything he loved, but this year he's here. It's Mr. Dan Slott, writer of Amazing Spider-Man. Next, I found the only picture I could find Googling, Ryan. It is Ryan Stegman, sexy bad boy artist of comics.
We always baffle Ryan Stegman.
Yes. If you go on Kickstarter, he has a really cool project called I Draw Comics. Donate. You're going to be very happy you did. Next, you've seen him starring in ABC's Mad Men and other great shows as Mr. Steve Wacker, the inspiration for Don Draper. That's what Bedhead looks like for Steve. He's waiting for
this morning.
You're such a good-looking man, Steve.
Thank you.
And finally, myself, Arune Singh, Director of Communications. All right, folks. How many of you read Amazing Spider-Man 692 this week? That is not enough of you, but
it's the con exclusive.
Yes, there's a convention exclusive available downstairs.
It's Dan Slott's least favorite cover ever.
And it's been hard to read this amazing Canadian HD. But that's Doc Ock saying Peter Parker.
Yeah, Dan started a story arc for Dr. Octopus almost 100 issues ago in 600. And a lot of what we've done in the past few years, including the recent, why am I blanking?
What, Big Time?
No, the big Doc Ock story.
Into the Earth?
Yes, Into the Earth has been leading to the next...
Steve Wacker, as of next month, will have edited 150 issues of Amazing Spider-Man.
Let's hear it for Steve, folks. Come on.
More issues than any other editor in the history of Spider-Man.
Suck it, Alonso!
I shipped, I think, on average, about 9 a year when I was editor.
So this is an important issue. This is a big one.
We have mentioned in the solicits, so I'm not spoiling anything. I'll let you guys know that in 600, Doc Ock had months left to live, and thanks to the magic of Marvel time, by End of the Earth, he has weeks left to live. And now, at the start of 698, he has hours left to live. He has hours left to live. He has no master plan. All he has is vengeance in his heart, and he now knows Peter Parker's secret.
God, and that's one thing Steve and Dan and I have joked about this, but it's true. When Amazing Spider-Man 700 comes out, I think you may love Dan Slott now. He's going to have to go into hiding. I think, Steve, that's pretty fair to say, right?
Yeah, we've got a safe room set up for Dan. It's filled with
Spider Hole.
It's filled with Doctor Who DVDs and jelly beans, so he can subsist for the next few
Jelly
years.
babies. I'm trying to teach him about Doctor Who.
So we'd like to exclusively, for the first time ever, guys, it hasn't been shown online, show you some of the covers to Amazing Spider-Man 700. Who wants to see those?
Never before seen.
Okay, first, by Humberto Ramos. His cover, which is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that is a wraparound cover. He worked to make the web say 700, and he's got about, I think, 137 villains there in the skyline of New York.
You're telling me I put the art upside down, aren't you?
I'm sort of suggesting that you put the are at 90 degrees to
At least I got credits right today. I'm ahead of the curve. So next, we got a very special cover by Marcos Martin.
Marcos Martin, one of our best artists, I think. He did a very special cover here where he's listed every creator that's worked on The Amazing Spider-Man, over 700 issues. So Marcos and myself, we poured over a giant list, making sure that no one's name was left off.
And
I'm sure there's going to be someone out there.
John Romita Sr.
But I think he did a terrific job, starting with Stan and Steve and John, and working his way through. And someone double check. Did we put Joe Quesada's name on there?
Yeah, I've seen this. I think
triple check that one.
I think it's the fourth biggest.
Next,
it's a beautiful piece.
Steve, you got to tell us about this cover because it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a
purchase fan expo. But this was a really big issue, Dan. It was the 50th anniversary issue of Spider-Man. He introduced Alpha, Spidey's seemingly new teen sidekick. Tell us about this.
He's a jerk. How many you guys who read it? Do you hate him yet?
Yeah.
Isn't he annoying? Don't you just wish he was dead? Oh, then we've done our job right. This is he has gotten his powers the same way Peter did, where there's a science experiment, but this time, instead of attending the science experiment, Peter he's the scientist leading it at Horizon Labs. He has a high school field trip from his old school, Midtown High, and the most obnoxious kid in the world gets zapped by Peter's invention. So this kid, Andy, has all these incredible powers, and even though he has great power, on some level it is still Peter Parker's responsibility.
So you people that hate him, you feel the same way about Alpha as the other heroes and villains feel about Spider-Man.
So the Alpha story continues in Amazing Spider-Man 693. Dan and Steve, what can you tell us about the future of Alpha?
What can you tell me about the future of Alpha?
I wouldn't say much if I were you.
Oh.
If you want to sell comic books. All of this, we've really kicked into high gear the sort of lead-in to December's issue 700. And the Alpha stuff, a lot of the themes and the characters we're exploring there are going to be important as we lead into the big story at the end of the year.
There are, for every issue that's coming out up until 700, leads up to 700, there's some clue or